Rev up your engines! All right, here we are in Rhode Island with the Tundra TRD. The guy bought used, and it's his third one because he loves them. And you might say, why is it his third one? Didn't the other ones last? Well, one of them saved everyone's life, but it got T-boned. The people are okay, but of course the truck is in the junkyard now. Now this one's 11 years old and it's only got 112,000 miles, so needless to say, there's really nothing wrong with it. The engine doesn't burn any oil, and it's got the timing chain instead of the old-fashioned timing belt, so you don't have to mess around with that. Now he bought it used and he thinks it was probably from a landscaping company, and he thinks it's probably been in a wreck, which I kind of agree because it's rusting a little, so it's probably hit here, but we'll look underneath. Everything's solid. Frame is rock solid. Look at that frame. Now, he had an F-150, and the frame rusted out. So, he fixed this all up, painted it himself. It's rock solid. There's nothing wrong with it, but he didn't want the frame to rust out because they do use a lot of salt on the roads here in Connecticut, Rhode Island. You name it, they use a lot of salt, and you really don't want it to rot away. Pipes, of course, have superficial rust on them, but the rest is in excellent shape. Half shafts in front. It's a true four-wheel drive vehicle. Got a real bed, a long bed. It's a real serious work truck. Hey, a landscaping company used it. Now, it used to have a plastic bed, but he didn't like it because everything slid all over the place. So he's priming it up and he says, yeah, I'll probably put a spray liner in it at some point in time so stuff doesn't slide around. You can see, still rock solid. Of course, the bolts are rusted. Hey, big deal. It came with these wheels. He got it at a dealership, and hilariously enough, they put fancier wheels on because at the lower end a lot of times they had steel wheels, and they put the fancier wheels on. Doesn't really matter. Wheels are wheels. These weigh a little bit less because it's a big Toyota Tundra with a giant V8 engine. They're not good at gas mileage. It doesn't matter if you put lighter wheels on, 13, 14 miles a gallon, but if he tows a real heavy box that he has with ATVs full, 4 of them inside, then it goes down to kind of 6 or 7. It can pull it with no problems. That's one of the reasons he bought this. His Ford, which also had a V8, and they used to switch each year who towed all the ATVs. His friend's Ford struggled towing stuff. This does it all. It pulls him with no problems whatsoever. With the four-wheel drive, he can go wherever he wants. And it kind of got them in trouble in Canada because they have these ATVs. They went out in the middle of nowhere and they're riding their ATVs, and next thing you know, the police are pulling them over. And they're thinking, geez, what's going on? And this is on the Canadian side of the Vermont-Canada border. Turns out they were on a known dirt track road for smugglers, for smuggling drugs and things in and out of Canada, right? Whatever they're smuggling. So they thought he was a smuggler, but when they checked us out and opened the box and saw they're just tourists going around, they didn't get in any trouble at all. But the trucks themselves, there's really nothing funny about them. They're serious trucks. Still got the original engine and everything in it. You get this white powder. That's just the aluminum. Corrodes when you go where there's salt. That's typical. But everything on this thing looks pretty much original. That's original. That's original. I can see the alternator's original. The air conditioning compressor certainly looks to be original. Hook up my fancy scan tool in a little while to check everything out. But as we look inside, you can see there's a lot of room inside these things. A lot of space. And unlike most people, he likes these plain seats because these hold up. You get seats like this, fabric. They hold up. Look, there's a little chink here. That's it from people sitting on it. Still in excellent shape. If they were leather, hey, they're going to be crashed. As we start it up, typical Toyota starts right up. You can see two-wheel drive, four-wheel high, four-wheel low. Simple screen. Simple buttons. You can set things very easily. And like I said, you can see it's got 112,000 miles on it. So the engine's barely worn in. You can see the chrome plating on the Toyota emblem has worn down, revealing the plastic underneath. And if you want, you can turn your traction control off. Let's say you're stuck in the mud or something and you're using a four-wheel drive. And since it's for towing, it's got the wide mirrors on it for towing. This was a work truck, landscaper, so there's no sunroof. Well, I don't like sunroofs in trucks anyways. So we're trying out this new X tool. We'll plug it in and it goes. This particular one is an IP616. Auto search. Oh, that was fast. Okay, automatic scan. Here we go. Zoop. It's working pretty fast. Well, 17 out of 18 systems, 18. Here we go. These are all green. And they got a few failures. We'll see what they are. They're probably not going to be much. Read the trouble code. Indicator of auto pattern seat airbag active mode. It doesn't have any lights on in the car, but as we said, this thing Probably was in a wreck at some point in time. So what we're going to do is turn it off, turn the key on so it's not running. We'll erase that code, see if it comes back later. So now we'll go to the cruise control. It's got a little code there. See what that code is? Startability malfunction. If you gave me a nickel for every time I hooked up a Toyota and said startability function, I'd be a billionaire, right? Okay, he just replaced the battery. I remember him telling me that. When the battery's low, it'll trip that code. So here we go. We're going to erase this one too. I guarantee you that won't come back because he's already changed the battery. So now the last one is the engine and ECT. So let's see what that says. We'll see what codes they are. I gotta say, this machine is working pretty fast. But now, strangely enough, the codes don't exist. I went to look at them and it says no codes. Even though I pushed it, it said there were 2 codes. So it's lying to me. I've had this happen before, especially when batteries have been changed. So what we're gonna do here is, we're gonna start it up. We're going to analyze live data. It's a good warning for everybody. You change the battery, you're best to reset everything. Because if you don't, you have like startability problems, wanky things be in here, and they really don't exist. They're not really doing anything. Your computer needs a certain parameter voltage. Once it gets below a certain voltage, it'll start tripping codes because the sensors won't work right. A lot of things will trip codes. So anytime you change the battery, my advice, just reset it. With a machine like this, not just a cheap scan tool, because this will do it all. You would have never gotten rid of any of these other codes because they're kind of oddball codes. You need a scan tool like this. And this isn't that bad. It's like a $369 scan tool. So here we go looking at the data. Okay, the MAF sensor looks good. Coolant temperature is good. Battery's charging good. The long-term fuel trim is 2.343%. Now, being off 2% isn't much. It means it's 98% perfect. Now, it's actually adding fuel, which means it's running a little bit lean. Let me tell you something. That's not something you want to mess with this truck. It's already getting the gas mileage that it's getting, which is low enough. And if you were enriching it a little, you get worse gas mileage. They'll often run a little bit on the lean side. He has no problems pulling, towing. That's something that you just ignore. Don't worry about that. It's pretty much meaningless. See on the air-fuel ratio sensor, it's 0.993. That means that it's off about 6 1,000ths. So I won't complain about that either. Check it out. Look at the temperature of the catalytic converters. Bank 1 and Bank 2. 238, 239, 239, 240. They're exactly the same. They're following each other. Says something about Toyota technology. Catalytic converters with 112,000 miles. They're both exactly the same temperature. I mean, that's kind of insane. You'd think they might be off 1 or 2 degrees, huh? But no, they're exactly the same, even to 1/10 of a degree. And here we go through more information. Even shows you the impedance of the oxygen sensors. It doesn't lie, it shows you the distance the battery cable disconnected. The battery was replaced 889 kilometers ago. Very small amount of fuel trim, 0.050. That's practically nothing. Toyota, their cylinders. No misfire, 0, 0, 0, 1 through 8. They're not misfiring at all. 0. The vapor pressure in the evap system. They care here on the East Coast because they inspect them. In Tennessee, we really don't care. But if you have a problem, you can figure out how to fix it with one of these. And look how steady the spark advances. 10.00. When it tells us the timing chain isn't worn at all. I can tell by the noise it doesn't make any. It's not rattling. The engine speed of each cylinder, 1 through 8. 51,199. Look. They're all exactly the same, meaning the engine is running absolutely perfectly. Automatic transmission shows you the oil temperature on both sensors. He actually added one on here that he plugs in when he wants to if he's going up hills and stuff. Now, Toyota doesn't give you this information on your dash, but the computer knows, and this reads the computer. So it knows what the temperature of the transmission is. And if you do get an overheating problem, it will trip a code. Check engine light will come on, and it'll tell you that the transmission is getting too hot. An electronically controlled 6-speed automatic transmission. So it's time for a road test. Of course, it's a huge big truck high up in the air, so we can go in my lump here in Rhode Island with no problem at all. We don't have to worry about bottoming out. Turn the heat off. It's getting too hot in here. Now this baby purrs like a kitten. Now they sell so many of these things because they run forever. He bought this because it pulled better than his friend's V8 F-150. These things are real world work trucks. I don't like the V6 twin turbo ones, but these old V8s, they go forever. We gotta wait for a little opening. There's one on that side. And here we go. We'll give it a little gas. There goes that V8 engine, man. It's still got tons of power. And I don't care what anyone says, because one of my friends in Tennessee bought the twin turbo Tundra, and he's so disappointed at the poor gas mileage that he's getting. It's rated, oh yeah, real high. He's getting 10 miles a gallon less than the rating. He drives it as an everyday work truck, and he's totally disappointed at the poor gas mileage that he gets using it as a work truck. There's no problems climbing up hills. Transmission still shifts like a dream. It's a big truck, there's no arguing that. Not the tightest turning circle, but then again, it's a big truck that just runs and runs and runs. Doesn't rattle much, solid built truck. If this was an 11-year-old Ford truck, I guarantee it would be rattling all over the place. Where was it made? Well, it was made in San Antonio, Texas. So there you have it. It doesn't burn oil. It still runs like a clock. He bought it secondhand. The four-wheel drive system works perfectly fine. Runs smooth, shifts smooth. He said he's gonna drive it until it falls apart. And I said, hey, you might fall apart before the truck does. Granted, the last one he had was T-bone, so let's not wish that happening again. But hey, it was a solid truck. Nobody got destroyed except the truck, so you gotta say, they're big, they're safe, they'll run forever. What's not to like? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.